Unpaused767 here. So, we're playing in Foxdale today in my lovely Sims 2 game because I decided that I wanted to do something different. So, long story short, in a mini rant, I've been stuck at home thanks to coronavirus. It's getting pretty bad here, as it is with the rest of the world. Every of my appointments are canceled. All the food is pretty much gone from the grocery stores. I barely have any food as it is. And I ordered, groceries to be delivered because I didn't want to go to the grocery store itself, and I got half of them. All my appointments, all my interviews, canceled. Everything canceled. My college is closed. Everything is just... I have nowhere to go. Not that I'd want to right now, but I have potential jobs that I had lined up gone. They've closed business for the time of the being, and I was job hunting actively. Thankfully, I have a bunch of videos I pre-recorded to post during this time, but my mood to record has not been non-existent for quite some time. But I decided one fun way to get me out of this slump, and a really fun idea I had. Well, actually, I owe the credit to Plumbella and Vixella. If you don't follow them, I suggest you do. They are awesome YouTubers and Sim players. But they did a 24-hour challenge. Let the Sims 2 be unpaused for 24 hours. Or left my game unpaused for 24 hours in Sims 2. Both of them, they did not take 24 hours for their games to go to shit. Because the Sims 2 is way more spontaneous than the Sims 4. Do not need mods to basically have stuff happen, which happens in my game since I had automatic proposals and whatnot installed. So I thought we'd go in my lovely, lovely town that I made called Foxdale. If you haven't been watching my series, my Sims 2 series, this is the town I made for a Let's Play I play. In fact, this is our house right here. Hi, fam. It's loading. It's being a little slow. Oh, spoiler alert for when it loads. I lost, 3 episodes of this series. So the first one I lost because the audio was muted. The second one I unfortunately lost because game issues. So basically, my game not game issues, more it was recording issues. So basically what happened was I had remember that issue I had with my hard drive? Well, I tried to back up the files and move them somewhere else for the safekeeping to refresh my entire computer. In the process of doing that, I somehow lost half the footage of the 2 episodes I recorded after the episode that was lost. So I literally lost 3 episodes, and I'm not happy about that. So what you don't know is that Amber and her boyfriend moved to college. Hemi grew up, I think, and some stuff happened at home. But it wasn't that big. The only big thing that happened was Hemi went and her boyfriend, oh, is that a flying saucer? Hello? I don't think I've ever seen that happen in the Sims game. Hello? That's funny. Yeah, but basically, Amber and Cammy, basically, they, unfortunately, no, not Amber and Cammy, oh god, I can't remember his name, Andrew or something like that, Amber and her boyfriend, basically moved to college. That's really all that you guys missed. Anyway, I was gonna go ahead and build a family for this, from scratch. So I suppose, would use the Autonomous family, because there are already enough, already made Sims there. And they're safe to play with now, so you know what, yeah, let's use the Autonomous family. We'll, where should we put them? I don't want to put them in one of the... Well, I suppose it will get unfurnished anyway. I don't know. We'll put in a lot. We'll just put in a house. Let's give him like a nice, pretty house. I think I downloaded some new lots, so that's a thing. Let me see. I also have some saved lots that I personally saved. Let's go with this one. Let's go with this one. I'll just put this lot in. Let's put it right, it's called Mountain something. Yeah, it's called Mountain View. So let's put it like right near a forest or something, maybe. Yeah, well, let's put it right over here, like right by the foresty area. Like right here. That's fine. Just right up there. It fits. Does it fit? Does it not fit? Oh. Apparently it can't go there, which is where I want it, but it can go there. How about here? Can it fit here? No. So that is the only real downfall of the Sims 2. You can play a lot anywhere, but not quite anywhere. They have to go into certain space sometimes. We're gonna put it right there. Sure, Mountain View. It's got more than one bedroom. I know that for a fact. Let's just call it Mountain Abode. Oops, that was, that was my Discord. I had a friend get together that I had originally with, I had a get together with a friend that I was gonna do, but we canceled because of, coronavirus. So, she was letting me know that she'll tell work that she can work those days. Yeah, but it's the family dynamic. I think Adam's literally in every single game. But I think we'll go with them because they're family dynamic and that will be more interesting because we got a child, a pregnant lady with 2 twins on the way, a husband, a an elder, a toddler, and a teen. This will be the whole dynamic. So that will be more interesting. So I'll just do that. And the goal of this basically is to not touch the game for 24 hours. Though if something dramatic happens and there's no Sims left, then I can't really not touch it for 24 hours. Because if there's no Sims left, then it's over. I'll watch just to make sure of that, because like I said, The Sims 2 is far more spontaneous. I also gotta furnish the house, so... The poor Autumnus family, though. I feel bad, but they literally exist in every single game, so it's not that much of a loss. I can play them with any game. And if I really feel bad, I can just not save. Oh yay, it loaded. Alright, so here we go. Here's the fam. Alright, we gotta furnish this mother.
She wants to have a grandchildren. So I'll leave that in, because, person's pregnant. I don't really care about their needs, so... Alright, we need to furnish this mother. So, that's the thing. Alright, let me see. First off, we need a kitchen. And let's just do really cheap, really affordable. Whoops. I'll just like top 4 to it, so let me see. Crazy concept of having a grill and a stove in the kitchen indoors. And then they obviously need some entertainment. So I figure we'll add a couple of things. One, we'll add a pinball machine because they love their entertainment. Alright, we'll put it right there. We need a TV. The chip, as I like to joke we call it. Let's go with the smaller one. They don't need that much. Oops, I can't put it on the stairs. See, in the Sims 4, you can put stuff on the stairs from here. Wait, oh, I guess I can put it there. So at least in the Sims 4, I mean, I suppose I could move objects on, but at least in the Sims 4, you can actually put stuff somewhat under the stairs. Like, the Sims 4, in all her unfortunate Glory does have her own mishaps, but there are some things that they can do that you can't do in other games. Now, what else could I add for a cool mishap? Let's not add anything too loud. Yeah, I have post packs and stuff. I have a lot of mods, okay? You know what? Let's add one of these things. Maybe they'll use it automatically, I don't know. And maybe someone will work out on the next transition, I don't know. Casually add this to the backyard, the back porch, because reasons. They also need a bookcase, I suppose. And maybe somebody will be abducted by aliens, who knows? Do I really need the car part? The car spot? Probably not, but, you know, just in case something were to happen. Oh, they're running out of money. There we go, we have cars. And, mother load. Did I do that right? Mother load. Oh! Ah! Alright, didn't mean to do that. Mother load. And one more for good measure. Mother load. Now how do I, okay, there we go. I fixed it. I didn't even know you could do that, in all honesty. I somehow noticed it that time. I honestly did not even know you could, like, do that. Thanks. Ah! Go back to daytime. Thanks. Don't even know how I need it at nighttime. Alright. Let me see. You need a bedroom. Alright, so we need, like, a toddler room. We'll get the toddler. And we, you know, give him a honk because I need to grab the honk. But just in case like someone's smart enough to like try and fix their knees because that's what that little moth thing does. Alright. This thing. And two more. They don't need a changing table, right? They'll be fine. You know, maybe somebody will be smart enough to try and change the baby, who knows? Maybe somebody else will be smart enough to try and change the baby. Where's the door? I'm thinking it. Where is the door? Oh, it's over there. Okay. Okay. Now I'll put the whole rocking horse. And then whatever the family needs is a bubble blower. Those are fun. Just put it right in the center, right there. Right there. And then every family would really love, where is it? Box of stuff, box of glass. Yes, box of glass. We need that. Make cost fire. Possibly. And then every good family gotta have the alcoholic grandma, so grandma's room probably should be on the next floor. Grandma's room gets to be in the bar. Little wardrobe. Ah! Personally don't like how these things are separated, and I use this category all the time for like room-based because, like, look at this. It's all mixed into like this, and it just makes it harder because then if I want, like, specifically, like, say, a chair, literally, I can't find all the chairs and all the beds. Ooh, speaking of which, beds, I have a Murphy bed. That's cause issue. Grandma gets a Murphy bed. This way I don't like this layout, that's why I always use the other one, but now that I'm in here, I'm just gonna do it. Alright, that's the bed. No, that too. This one, because I prefer this layout, no one keeps how I always like. Alright, toys, we need a toy box. Let's get a full big oven. And a toy box. That's all we need. Alright, close, they need a bathroom, and a wardrobe. I mean, do they need a wardrobe, really? Yes. They do. Like right there. And then like right there. That's fine. And then you have a bathroom, I suppose. I suppose they need a bathroom. No, no, whatnot. Alright, urinal. That thing. Sink. That's all you need, right? Or I suppose you could have a shower in the boys' room. Yeah. There we go. I'm not too worried about the layout. I'm just trying to get this done. Alright, grandma probably likes her long bath. That's a shower. And then toilet. Her personal toilet, which I think is basically her own way. Yeah, there we go. And then her luxurious sink. I think grandma loves her luxurious sink. She probably also has a mirror to look at herself. Mirror. I suppose maybe the boys have a mirror, cover nasty. That's to face the sink. Thanks. Hi, thanks, you have to face the sink. Hi. Fine, we'll use the sink. Fine. Alright, mirrors need a bathroom. I suppose they get a little fancier mirror. Otherwise, only a cheap mirror. It's a stone decoration. Alright, sink. Maybe a little fancier than that. Like a little antique look. Like probably like some bath. Little antique toilet. You know that one. I know there's like a toilet that matches that sink, but still. Oh, there it is. There. I don't know. I don't really feel like worried about patterns. And I suppose Dad probably wants a shower. Probably Dad likes a space shower afterwards with Mom to go to the long bath. Alright, there we go. They need... I didn't give them a dining table, I just realized that. Alright, that's Mom's wardrobe. Dad's wardrobe. I mean, do they really need a dining table? They're probably all going to die. Alright, Mom and Dad's bed. Let's go with this. I'm honestly not worried about colors, but for the sake of it, I'll just, because I feel like they're probably whatever, 95. I don't know, they just give me that kind of vibe. Oh, I can't really get so up, we'll be able to get it. But there we go. And for the last thing I'm going to throw in, the on section. The last thing I'm going to throw in. I really don't care what it looks like. But if you haven't guessed, it's the computer. And let's go with that. I just feel like that matches the desk better. I'm sure Mr. Humble is going to give us the computer, but I really don't have time for this. I'm really good at editing with that, so I press play, so. Alright, there we go. They got a computer. Now, 1, 2, 3.
Go. They all got some kind of thing going on. Alright. I leave you to yourself. So at first, everything went well. It was basically going really well for the Sims, you know, as it was. And at first, their needs are full. And then they were also taking care of the children and whatnot. It's from here that it just kind of seemed boring, because I was expecting spontaneous, like... So let me get this straight. Children can, like, smoke the bubble blower, because it's basically a hookah. It was also from this point on that things would just kind of get silly, but as people would go to work and whatnot, and the children were starting to get taken care of way less, there was a point where the daughter, Charla, almost starved to death, but she made something on the Easy Bake Oven, so she survived. But the bubble blower's power just became too irresistible for every sim, and that for most of the adult sims. Well, mostly the child, the elder, the Charla, the child, I think David, the teen, and the elder, who I can't remember the name of, it became too powerful for them, and they kept being addicted to the initial bubble blower. Like I said, Charla almost starved to death, but she eventually made something in the Easy Bake Oven. But that bubble blower, though, I did not expect it to have so much power over the Sims initially. So it just kind of, like, took over them for a while, and it almost lost Charlotte to Charlotte's services at first. And it was at this point that Samantha set herself up for a downward spiral. She ate the rotten food she made earlier, giving her food poisoning, and her life would just become miserable from this point on, just so you all know, especially because she's pregnant. Like I said earlier, Charla realized how hungry she was and saved herself with that Easy Bake Oven that I put in the game. I don't even know if that's what its name technically is, but she saved herself with it, thankfully. She was a little mad that she burnt the food at first, but she was so hungry that she wolfed that burnt muffin down just like that. And of course then we were getting the notifications of school, and also that the children, she was hungry, but she took, like I said, she was so hungry she did not care. She wolfed that thing down. It was at this point that it kind of became the Samantha show, because every time I was checking on her so much, because she was throwing up all the time, and then she was always hungry, and swapping beds a lot, because initially she was having a miserable time with being sick. She wouldn't stay asleep because she was so hungry. She wouldn't, every time she did eat something, she'd immediately go back upstairs and throw up. And it's a wonder she got as far as she did, to be perfectly honest. But, basically all the Sims in the household were pretty boring while this was going on. Now don't get me wrong, I love a good game of musical chairs, but she was playing musical beds and wasn't sleeping throughout the entire night. There were some Sims that were somewhat helpful. The grandmother, who I can't remember the name of, was actually helping the toddler at first. She actually took care of him at first, while Samantha was having all this issues. The child was obsessed with the bubble blower, as was the father and the teen, and then the Charla and David, I think it was, were going to, like, school, and David to work, and the dad, who I can't remember the name of, was going to work, but nobody really was taking care of the toddler except the grandmother. And she eventually did take care of the toddler. She eventually stopped doing that. And meanwhile, all this was going on, Samantha was still miserable, was playing musical beds all the time, and everybody else was doing their own thing, either playing on one of the addictive things like a computer, or swapping, or like in Samantha's case, swapping beds, swapping locations. And then on top of that, when she actually tried to eat stuff, like I said, she would go downstairs, go to eat, because she's like about to die if she doesn't eat something. She'd get all the way down there. She'd go to eat, and then she'd, like, immediately after eating, like, she'd run to the fridge, because she was like, well, not run, but she'd, like, walk to that fridge because she was starving. Eat something. I was honestly expecting a fire to be these guys doing, but that didn't happen. Because Samantha spent all this time, nobody really ate or cooked. Samantha would just snack from the fridge whenever she was like absolutely starving after that food poisoning. And then immediately after she was done snacking, she'd run upstairs and go vomit her guts out in the toilet. The poor babies must be so malnutritioned at this point. Because, like, it's immediately after she closed the fridge, she immediately runs right back up those stairs to the closest bathroom and just vomits her guts out. And it's kind of sad. It's just like, I feel bad for her, but yeah. And then, of course, this is when the interesting stuff started to happen. Samantha eventually somehow did not die while pregnant, because you can actually die while pregnant in The Sims 2. Managed to have both her babies. Somehow the initial malnutrition of what was going on with her did not affect the baby count. Not that I thought it would. It just, normally in real life, probably if you weren't eating and you were pregnant with multiple babies, one of them would die. And it's sad, but you know, whatever. She eventually had the babies. And I felt bad for her. But at the same time, it was like, I kind of found it silly that this is what was going on. So I initially, after the babies were born, I appropriately named them after a food chain restaurant, because she wanted food so bad and was not getting the chance to actually enjoy it in her stomach, that I decided to name the babies Taco and Bell. So, because there was a boy and a girl. I was going to name one Taco Bell and one Burger King, but it came out a boy and a girl, so I named it Taco and Bell. So, that's what we did. And of course, it was after this point that life for them just went to shit. So, like, everything just basically went downhill from here. It was really after this point that stuff got real. The first major thing that happened was Samantha still was not eating, and now with these two new babies, she was actually taking care of the babies as were other, but poor Tommy, the toddler, who I barely mentioned in this, because that's how irrelevant he was in this, was kind of just forgotten. I actually forgot about him for a while. But basically, oh sorry, I had to interrupt the footage because something got delivered. But basically, poor Tommy the toddler was just up here crying, wailing his eyes out, and nobody was paying attention to him. And then they were paying more attention to the new babies than anything else. And Samantha would not eat and would not sleep. Even after, she was just that miserable. She wasn't even pregnant anymore. She was just in a horrible, horrible state. So basically, it was after this point that life kind of turned downhill. The needs of every Sim was bad. Tommy was starving. Samantha was in such bad shape that she fell asleep in the frickin' kitchen, standing up, no less. That takes talent, in my personal opinion, to fall asleep standing up. Everybody was trying to take care of the new babies and kind of forgot about Tommy in the process. Samantha finally was still very, very sick, and I actually realized this after, when I was, as you'll see from the very end of this footage, is that I thought she initially, well, that's actually a spoiler. Never mind. But she was very food poisoned, and I'm trying to say this without spoiling it before we get there. But, basically she was very food poisoned, and she was just getting worse, and I didn't realize that. So I thought she was going to die of starvation. The most I will say is that she did not die of starvation. She did die. Well, that's the spoiler, unfortunately. But she was like our first down, as you see here. Basically, the camera tried to pan, but then it went down, so I didn't know exactly what was, and it showed me a clip, but I didn't know what it was showing me, so I tried to go down, so it was showing me this lady down in front of the house, so I thought, oh, maybe she's stealing a newspaper, but no, Samantha died, and I almost missed it. I thankfully heard Grandma was like, wait a minute, so I went upstairs. Samantha, who I knew was like close to death, and she did die. The thing is, though, she didn't die of starvation, surprisingly. She actually died of sickness. She died from that food poisoning she got off salad that basically killed her. And that, I rarely have had a Sim die from sickness in this game. I was actually surprised that that's what killed her instead of starvation. On top of that, then right after she died, the freaking social worker showed up. So I knew Tommy was starving, and I couldn't make them take care of him. But the social worker showed up, and I knew that was going to happen. I could just tell because nobody was taking care of Tommy. And I was right. She showed up, and she tried to scold the dad because he was the only living parent, but he didn't let her. He was too busy trying. So, last minute, the dad decided after his wife died to redeem himself and take care of Tommy. Unfortunately, it was far too late as a social worker was here. So she tried to scold him. He was too busy taking care of Tommy, so she didn't. So she had a fit because she couldn't get to him. So she instead then proceeded to grab Charla. Now Charla's needs were actually really good at this point in time. Unfortunately for Charla, the social worker didn't care. Social worker came for all the young children because one of them was starving. And that's what makes The Sims 2 so brutal, is if you have one child that's suffering, all the children that are younger than teenage years get taken. So she took Charla, and then she proceeded to take Tommy, because he's the one who was actually starving. From there, it just kind of got iffy, because she took Taco, but she didn't take Belle. And I get real confused at the end of this footage, because I'm like, wait a minute, why'd she take Taco but not Belle? That's kind of weird, because the social worker is supposed to take all children and younger, when she comes, but she only took Charla, Tommy, and Taco, and yeah, Belle was left behind. As a blessing as that was, much of a blessing as that was, that Belle now gets to live with them still. Why? She's not supposed to do that. I feel like that was a glitch, in all honesty. But it's from here that she basically took like I said, she came up and she got Tommy. He's already disappeared from the relationship panel, and she's on the process of taking him. Another thing is that they have memories of the children not taking, and the dad has memories of Tommy, Belle, and Charlotte being taken by social services, but it was Taco that was taken, not Belle. So I don't understand that, but whatever. That's why I personally think it was a glitch, and that Belle was supposed to have been taken, but she wasn't. But whatever. So this is where she took Tommy. Like I said, the social services is quite a sad thing to happen in your game. It just means it happens, and I kind of get why The Sims removed them in The Sims 4 and just had your Sims get whisked away instead. Personally, I like the social worker. It's a touch of realism, but it also brings me great stress when she shows up on my lot, because, especially in The Sims 2, because everything gets taken when she shows up. Like, she even takes the pets. If you have pets that are starving, she takes the pets and the kids, and it's kind of sad, and it's kind of depressing, and it's kind of stressful. She's not supposed to be a liked Sim, though. You're not supposed to like her when your family is having issues. Basically, this is the word basically glitched, is what I think, because what she did is she came over, she walked away. She went over to get the baby, and then she turned around. And then she proceeded to go back to her car. And then she came back inside and got Taco. I don't understand that behavior. What exactly happened here? It seems like she was going to put, Belle in her car, but she forgot to grab Belle. So then she goes back inside and grabs Taco, and actually puts Taco in her car. And it's at this point that I'm confused. Like, first of all, why is she doing this loop around? And why didn't she grab the other child, the child next to her? And then why did she go back in there, grab Taco and go back to her car. And it's like, I'm like, wait a minute. See, this is where she grabbed Taco, who was the baby she left on the floor originally. And then Belle, who would have been, who was actually on the floor in her pathway, like, she walked past Belle 3 times. And you can't see her because there's there's tinkering machine in the way, but she walked past Belle 3 times. Not once did she come back and put Belle in the car. So at this point, I'm expecting her. Okay, there's still one baby in the house. It's showing in the panel. So she's gonna come back and get the house. So I move over to the house to see where the other baby is, so I know where to look. And then I notice she's disappeared. I'm like, wait, where'd she go? There's still a baby in this house, isn't there? Where'd the baby go? It's still showing in the family panel thing. He's over here crying because his family's lost. I'm like, well, basically, I'm going to end it at this point because there's not much more I can do. This took forever. And there's the baby. I was like, oh, there it is. Okay, but there's no interactions available. Does that mean it's gone? But then I go over to see the social worker. Oh wait, no, I'm checking its name. Its name is Belle. I'm like, wait a minute, which one got taken? And I go over to the social worker, and she's gone. She left. She gone. So basically, she left us with Belle. I'm like, wait, what? So it roughly took an hour for things to go to shit. I've been like viewing this, and I think this is where I call it an. I think this is where I'm gonna call it an end. I have a lot to edit, but yeah, that was very interesting. And to top it all off, I think we're gonna have you, sir. You know what? Never mind. But that was a very interesting little thing. I hope you all enjoyed it. I certainly had fun with it, even though I was kind of multitasking while it was going on. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and end this here, and I love you all, my beautiful lovelies, and I will see you all in the next one. Be sure to like and subscribe for more, and I will see you soon. Bye!